Trial tappers find hope, resilience, and post-traumatic growth after life's trials and traumas. But how do you do that? Today, I want to explain this idea that many therapists will use called reframing. Now, I know sometimes it can be frustrating to understand what does that mean. Zig Ziglar was quoted to say, one small positive thought can change your whole day. Sandy Bushberg said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I had this image drawn up of an actual reframing the same storm. As you look at this picture, you see that the same storm is in both frames. One frame is really broken, one frame is all nice and decorated. We talk about reframing the trial or trauma that you're going through at this time. I know some people will say, look, I'm just not looking for the positive in this. And that's not necessarily what we're saying. We're not saying just look for the positive, but we're just saying, okay, how can you look at this from a different angle or different lens, different view? Could this be potentially something, the same storm that you've been dealing with and you come to therapy with and you've been struggling with, can we look at it differently? One example might be when someone says, they're here and they're struggling with a divorce. And I'll hear people say, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. And that's could be true. But then 6 months later, they're saying, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. Now, how do you do that, right? How do you start looking at things differently? Like I said, I used the analogy previously. I used the analogy of a maple tree. And when you drill into the maple tree and put this spike or spile in there, it drips out this water, right? And you can take that and collect that and turn that into something else, not just water, but into maple syrup. So the pain this tree is going through eventually can be turned into something else. Well, it's very common for therapists to say, I want you to write a gratitude journal, or maybe on your phone, you do gratitude lists. I've listed here, sometimes people struggle with something to say or what are they grateful for. And I've listed here nature and water. Let's just start there. But then try to identify more and more things that you're grateful for. Why do therapists ask you to do this? Because there's a lot of research showing out there that if we can get you to identify and be grateful for a few things every day, if you do that for several weeks or months, that even when you stop, mood generally elevates over time and can keep that mood up. Now, how do we do this? Now, sometimes I'll ask people to write in a journal, or sometimes I just say, hey, just get out your phone, set an alarm, and identify 3 things every day that you're grateful for. It could be simple, doesn't have to be long, but you just have to be careful about how you're doing this, because when I have people read them back to me, I'll teach them, you have to make sure all the words in your gratitude list are positive. Because there's research that is showing that if you compare lists of people that gratitude list, this one has a bunch of negative words and this one has positive words. These guys do better. What does that look like? So I'll have someone write, for example, I am grateful that my ex-partner didn't yell at me when I picked up the kids. We'll see there's some positive, negative words in there. They cancel each other out. Or they'll say, I'm grateful my boss didn't fire me when I showed up late. Again, there's some negative things that have happened there. So we want to look at, I'm grateful that I got to see my kids today, right? I'm grateful that I have a job that helps me pay the bills. Like these are things I'm grateful for. One thing that comes up in the theory of post-traumatic growth, it's pretty common where we hear people say, you're having normal reactions to abnormal events, right? All those emotions you're going through, everything is normal. And sometimes people will come and say, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? It's so overwhelming. It's like normalizing, like this, look at what you're going through. And we try to lay it out and see all the stresses, all the things you're going through, and your body is just having normal reactions. Now, when those reactions are dominating your life, and many different areas of your life, then many people end up in therapy to try to work through those, to try to bring that down to a level that they can function with. Now, here's one quote from David Kessler, who's written a book about the grief cycle. And this is one thing he says: your loss is not a test, a lesson, something to handle, a gift, or a blessing. Loss is simply what happens to you in life. Many people find it helpful to reframe your struggle, reframe your trial, turn it into something different. Your struggle is real. The trial that you've gone through and the trauma you experienced is difficult, and it's unique to you. Nobody knows how you feel. No one knows exactly what you're going through. And yet, there are many people that can empathize with you in your struggle. And there are many people that can help you find that way out. Therapy is helpful, and I hope you will seek out that if you're struggling to find that and turn this into something that you can live with. Post-traumatic growth is real, and reframing is often helpful as you go through your struggle. If you've been able to turn your trial into something different and reframe it into something else, I would love to hear that in the comments below. Look, this might be helpful for somebody else, so it'd be great if you shared it, liked it, and if you want to hear more, please subscribe. Thanks.